What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C4 here, doing a video that I've kind of pondered. It actually came to me in the shower last night where, let's be honest, it was crowded. Not with guys, you fucking trolls, either. It was crowded with, it was by myself. But anyways, I thought it was like, you know what? What's something, relating back to the Eagles? Hasn't been a whole lot of Eagles-specific content on the channel lately, and I am, at heart, an Eagles channel, though I don't want to ever be branded as an Eagles channel. I like to appeal to the masses as best as I can. But I was like, what's something that I could do in relation to the draft? I like to, this is a transitionary phase of the channel where football season has sadly come to an end, and now we're getting ready for the drafts, the combine, all that stuff. And, I wanted to make a video about, it's a way that I watch the draft, in a way that I assume a lot of other people watch the draft as well. And it is, you have the prospects you want. Mock drafts are, fucking 70, 90% incorrect most of the time. But how I watch a guy is it's just by the round. When it's like, it's tough to mock. Usually the first round is kind of easy for the most part. You know what prospects are to go. But then when you get to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round, there's, the draft board goes to shit. It might have been trades, there might have been injuries, stuff like that. It might be you might find out that a top offensive lineman had a goddamn bong mask right before the fucking draft started. That could drastically throw a wrench into, your essential draft strategy. So as a fan watching for the Eagles, I go by round perspective. So that's, for example, in the third round, I'll have, okay, we still haven't got this player, and these are all the guys I'd be very happy with getting in the third round. So like all mock drafts after the first round are pretty much thrown out the window. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to look at the 6 positions of need for the Philadelphia Eagles and look at the prospects of each position that are projected to go at every single round. So right now, for example, we're going to be looking at the running backs, wide receivers, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, and corners. And for the running backs, we have what running back I would want and projected first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round. So basically 7 prospects for each position of need for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's pretty much how I watch it. I mean, like, realistically, for example, say the Philadelphia Eagles don't draft a running back, and it's round 4. So I'm going to look at round 4, what running backs are available. This is the guy we got to get. Come on, we have to get this guy. And then, so on and so forth. So we're going to do that. And I hopefully you guys get something out of this video. And I know that, like, this is how most people will watch it. Because, like I said, mock drafts, they're thrown out the fucking window. This is what I'm looking at. So we'll start with the running back position. And for the first round, if we're going after running back, I think it's pretty much consensus. I personally feel that Leonard Fournette is going to be a great NFL player. I don't think he's going to bust. A lot of people think he doesn't have the durability, or he's kind of a one-hit wonder. You think he might sizzle out? I don't exactly know why people start to shit on Leonard Fournette. I think he's going to be amazing. But for the Philadelphia Eagles scheme, Dalvin Cook is the fit. We need a guy that can catch consistently 30, 40 passes a year. And while Leonard Fournette's hands aren't as bad as a lot of people make it seem, Dalvin Cook is a more natural pass catching back. So if we went running back in the first round, Dalvin Cook would be the option. Now looking at the second round, and by the way, I'm using CBSSports.com right now just for my rankings. And I mean, again, much like where mock drafts get thrown out the window, rankings realistically, I mean, they're right for the most part in regards to, like, they'll probably go in that round, but it's, it's a crapshoot. A draft pick is worth what the team evaluates it at, and some teams all over the fucking board. So I'm just going by these rankings personally, so don't shit on me like, oh my god, T4, there's no way he's going to be in the second round. I'm just using this website in the context of this video. So in the second round for running backs, I have Alvin Kamara from Tennessee. I think that, again, a lot of these running backs are going to fit that mold. You have to have solid hands. You have to be able to be utilized to the most efficient levels of this offense. And Kamara, he wasn't a 3-down back at Tennessee. He was behind Jalen Hurd for the most part. But I think Kamara has shown, the one-cut explosiveness. I think a lot of people are comparing him to Jamal Charles light. I kind of see that a little bit. But I mean, Jamal Charles, his year at Texas was crazy, as opposed to Kamara, who's used in somewhat sparingly. But again, Kamara, a guy, I'm recording this before the combine, he could really go off and improve his draft stock at the coming combine. Obviously, maybe if a guy like Christian McCaffrey slipped in the second round, who may potentially will slip, he probably would be a name ahead of that. But currently, McCaffrey's predicted to go in the first round. Kamara's going in the second round. That's why we went with Kamara. Then in the third round, Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon, all the off-field stuff aside, I think out of any running back in this year's draft class, it's kind of stupid to say, okay, let's just ignore the off-the-field stuff, because the off-the-field stuff is very important to the kind of player that you get. But I fully expect if Philadelphia Eagles touch him and draft him at some point, they did their due diligence in the the scouting process, in the interview process, and know that this guy's going to be a smart guy. But I think we go with the Michael Vick. We gave Michael Vick a second chance, and look at what happened there. I think everyone deserves a second chance in football. Unfortunately, on the downside, I think everyone deserves a second chance because good football players they're rare. It's rare to get a good football player. And Joe Mixon, if he didn't have all the off-field issues, he'd be a first-round draft pick. He'd be in contention to be the first running back drafted. All the off-field stuff, people are saying he'll go third, fourth round. Fourth round's usually where guys with character issues will go. And I think if the Philadelphia Eagles truly believe he can be that game-changing back, and I personally believe that. I'm all on the Joe Mixon hype train. I think you say, fuck it, let's go one round higher than everyone else. Let's be the team that everyone scoffs at. Like, oh, can't believe they drafted him in the third round. Fuck you. You would have drafted him in the fourth round. Suck a dick. Mixon is the perfect back for us here in Philadelphia, and I think it'd be incredibly stupid if they let all the off-field stuff really deter it. Unless he has a shit interview. If he has a shit interview and becomes a guy you don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole, completely understandable. I'm the guy that said Honey Badger deserves a second chance. Everyone slept on him. Now look at how fucking great of a player he is. So I think I'm getting the exact same feeling with Joe Mixon. I think just a change of scenery, getting out of Oklahoma, coming to Philly would be great for him. So Mixon for me. And this is going to be the asterisk. What I'm going to do throughout these is really highlight the guys that I think this is where we should get them. So third and fourth round are going to be the money rounds here, I believe, for running back. And Joe Mixon in the third round is the best potential running back pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. So if we somehow don't get Joe Mixon in the fourth round, Jerry McNichols from Boise State. I had him in a mock draft. Again, had a big-ass year at Boise State. Great running back. A lot of people that are fans of Boise State say he may be better than Jay Ajayi, and we saw what he did for the Miami Dolphins this year. I think McNichols, low-key, would be a perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hard runner. I mean, not the biggest 5'9", 212, but he looks for contact. He has great hands. He can probably catch, he'll catch any ball and can run any route that we would ask him to do in our offense. So I'd be very happy if we couldn't get Joe Mixon in the third, and we decided not to get a running back in the first two rounds. Jerry McNichols in the fourth round. I think third and fourth round for running backs this year will be the money round for us. Fifth round, we have James Conner from Pitt. Bigger back. I think when you get to the fifth, sixth round, a little bit later, then you look for compliments because you're clearly not going for your new starter there. So look at what we have and what we need. What we have right now, Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood. We have smaller guys that are pass catching. So get a guy that can move the chains. James Conner, 6'2", 240. That is a chain mover if I've ever seen it. And his hands are great. He caught, I don't know how many passes he caught. He probably caught at least 30 passes with Pittsburgh. I don't have his stats right in front of me. So he does have solid hands. Great story. In-state. I mean, everything about James Conner, super high character. He pretty much gets all the traits that the racist scouts will give the white guys. High character. He's a gym rat. You got he's scrappy. All those things you want in James Conner. I think it'd be a great feel-good story, and just kind of the polar opposite of what bringing Joe Mixon would bring to the city. So I'd be all over James Conner in the fifth round. Look at the sixth round. It's De'Veon Smith from Michigan. Again, just going for what we don't have. I mean, it could be a shout for Jamal Williams from BYU, but I think he'll probably go in the fifth round. But we're in the sixth round. De'Veon Smith from Michigan, 5'11", 220 pounds, just a little bit bigger back that can be a compliment. And then the seventh / undrafted, I have Dare Ogunbowale from Wisconsin. I watched 3 Wisconsin games, and he looked like, most games, I'm going to come out and say he looked better than Corey Clement, who's projected to be, a third, fourth round, middle round pick. I think Ogunbowale could be, if we're truly looking for that guy that can catch passes out the backfield, I think he'd be a nice pickup, especially if he goes undrafted. I'd jump all over that and bring him in as a camp body. Jahad Thomas from Temple could be another one, but I mean, he's really small. He's 190 pounds, soaking wet, so we may want to look elsewhere outside of the Temple strong player there. But those are the running backs, the 7 running backs that I would be happy with the Philadelphia Eagles drafting. Moving on to the wide receivers. In the first round, I am going with Corey Davis. And this is strictly because it's clear now with the injury that Corey Davis probably won't at least run a 40 at the combine. Mike Williams will probably go ahead of Corey Davis. So that's one of the reasons why I had Corey Davis here, not Mike Williams, because I just don't think Mike Williams will be there for the Eagles pick. But Corey Davis, it's a crapshoot right now who's going to be the better of two. I can see both sides of the argument. I'm not set on one side or the other. I think Mike Williams probably has a little bit more upside personally. I think Mike Williams, if both these guys, I think Corey Davis is the safer pick and still has a very high ceiling, but I think that Mike Williams has potential to be the next superstar wide receiver if he truly can establish himself and improve getting separation in the NFL. So Corey Davis would be the wide receiver that I would like most in the first round. Moving to the second round, Cooper Kupp is who I went with, and this one's kind of fluid because I really want to see what he runs for the 40. A lot of people, including Mike Mayock thinks that he's going to run a very good 40. Like, they're saying low 4.4s. Everyone thinks it'd probably 4.5, something like that. If he runs a sub 4.4 or sub 4.5, I think his draft stock is going to be immense, because he may have one of the best route running in this year's draft class. Very solid hands. He does everything you want. And why not take a gamble on another small school project that, not a project, small school player that's going to be absolutely crazy for the Eagles. We saw what happens when we go on a limb and draft a Carson Wentz type. I think Kupp, out of all, second round is a great round for wide receivers in this year's draft class. People are saying it's a weak class. I think the second round is not bad. Right now, mocked in the second round, Curtis Samuel, Dede Westbrook, Cooper Kupp, Malachi Dupree, Isaiah Ford, Juju Smith-Schuster, Amara Dabro, Darius Stewart, currently on CBS Sports, are mocked to go in the second round. If we weren't going Kupp, I think, depending on how Dede Westbrook he interviews well, it'd be kind of sketchy, I think, to get Dede Westbrook in the second and then get Joe Mixon in the third, getting two guys with questionable past. Personally, if we didn't get Cooper Kupp, I think Isaiah Ford from Virginia Tech might be my second favorite prospect here in the second round. But I think after we see how well Cooper Kupp tests, he could be, obviously you're going to have the fucking ears like, oh, he's just going to be the next fucking Riley Cooper. No, he's going to be good, especially after a phenomenal Senior Bowl. And currently mocked, if we go and get him in the third round, speaking of Senior Bowls, maybe had the best Senior Bowl. I don't think he could definitely slip into the second round, but I don't think he's going to run a good enough 40. I think third round, I give him a second, third round grade. So just for the video's sake, he's currently mocked in the third round on CBS Sports. So that's Zay Jones from East Carolina. He had I think he improved his stock more than anyone in the Senior Bowl game. He straight up was incredible. He had 2 touchdowns called back. He was good all along. I believe I was talking with people on Twitter like week 8 of the college football season. You're like, hey, look at this guy, Zay Jones from ECU. Everyone knew it was an air raid offense. His stats were going to be pretty crazy. But when you actually look at the game tape, it's like, Jesus Christ, like he's actually making guys look really bad. It's not just, there's so many guys to cover and he's just a guy that gets open and they designed to get him open. He is literally getting open. And you saw that in the Senior Bowl. He looked phenomenal. I don't think his 40 time is going to be sexy. He's not going to have a sexy 40 time. He'll probably run a 4.5. But I think Zay Jones would immediately be one of the top wide receivers on the Philadelphia Eagles. So we can get him in the third round potentially, and depending on how the draft board went, Zay Jones is going to be an excellent wide receiver. I'm really happy with the second. I'm going to talk about these wide receivers currently mocked. The back end, I'm happy with any one of these wide receivers because I do think we need to get 2. So if we did get Corey Davis, I think that rounds 3 roughly to round 6, I'd be happy with any of the wide receivers that are currently mocked to go there. But for the third round, Zay Jones from East Carolina would be all over that shit. Now jumping to the fourth round, Eagles have interviewed Taywan Taylor from Western Kentucky, and I think he's a solid prospect. He'd be a solid playmaker on our roster. But I would go with Josh Reynolds from Texas A&M. He's 6'3". He's 200 pounds. He's not as big as Mike Evans, but he plays like Mike Evans. Kind of a lazy comparison because they both went for Texas A&M. But you saw a lot of what Mike Evans did for Johnny Manziel, saving his quarterback on some pretty shit throws. You saw that with Josh Reynolds, with Travis Knight there in Texas A&M. I think he's going to be a sleeper. I think he may improve his draft stock if he runs a solid 40, but currently mocked in the fourth round. I think a guy like him, he could compete day one to be a wide receiver 2 on the Philadelphia Eagles. Going to the fifth round, I have Chad Hansen from Cal. I currently mocked him to the Philadelphia Eagles in my last mock draft. Again, much like Cooper Kupp, not to just link them together because they're white, but Cooper Kupp and Chad Hansen are 2 guys that a lot of the scouts think will run very good 40s and improve their draft stock, so he may not, on a later date, be considered a 5th round pick. Currently on CBS Sports, he's a 5th, 6th round. I think Chad Hansen, he made a bunch of plays for Cal. He has very underrated speed, and I think he would be a solid pick for sure in the 5th round. Jumping to the 6th round, we have Amba Edetewo from Syracuse. This guy put up mind-boggling numbers. I'm really surprised he's currently with a 6th round projection. I don't know if maybe that's just CBS Sports kind of being off there. Or the 6th round current guys, Katie Cannon could be good if you're looking to get a different dimension of the offense, because Katie Cannon's going to run a pretty crazy 40. I wouldn't be surprised to see him probably have like the second fastest 40, or even compete with John Ross for the fastest 40 time. But I think Taiwo is more of a complete player. He has solid speed, but it's his route running in his hands, and that's what we need. We need a guy that can catch the ball on the Philadelphia Eagles. So with the 6th round, Taiwo would be a beast. And then for 7th undrafted, I have Jamari Staples from Louisville, another guy that people think is 40 times going to be pretty good. Currently mocked to be a 7th round pick / free agent. 6'3", 190 pounds. I'm hearing that he may run a low 4.4 I don't know, maybe someone who's like a Louisville fan's like, he's not that fast. But I think I saw it on Twitter or something like that Staples, watch for Staples to run a good 40 time. And that's just, that's just taking a punt there. Obviously, if he runs that good of a 40 time, probably won't be in those rounds. But watch him at Louisville. Did some nice things with Lamar Jackson this year. And I think he'd be a solid project. Well, that's the thing. Usually when you draft a 7th round player, you're like, oh, he's a good project. Someone like Ricky Seals-Jones, Jehu Chesson, DeMaurier Stringfellow, guys like that. But I think a guy like Staples isn't so much a project. It's just, I think he'd be a guy that would come in and then, he's slated to make the back end of the wide receivers, especially if you're planning to have a lot of turnover at the wide receiver position here with Philadelphia, which is somewhat rumored. I could totally see a guy like Staples get drafted right away and throw him right to the fucking Wolves. Don't give him the Paul Turner treatment where you're like, we know you probably have better hands than everyone, but we're gonna, practice squad, not signing you, dropping you for someone else in case of injury. No, fuck that. Just get the goddamn best players and let them play. So that is my wide receiver rankings for all 7 rounds. Moving on to, okay, so what wide receiver would I draft? Obviously, you've seen Corey Davis mocked, so I'm going to say first round, we'll start that one, Corey Davis. The next best pick, honestly, we'll have to probably say Zay Jones in the 3rd round or Chad Hansen in the 5th round. So I really feel strong, and people are not, I don't know, I'm going to say a lot of people, some people are shitting on this year's wide receiver class. It definitely isn't as strong as years past. Obviously, when you go back to like 2 or 3 years when the old Beckham, Mike Evans, all the years like that. Well, I think it's underrated class. I'll say that. So moving on to the offensive lineman. This one here is a little bit tougher because I don't think we're going to invest a high pick. But for the sake of the video, there's going to be the prospects that I like in each round. In the first round, I think Ryan Ramczyk from Wisconsin would be the best fit. I'm not a huge fan of him versus Cam Robinson. A lot of people are going with Cam Robinson. I'm not a fan of that assessment. I think Ramczyk is a solid, safer prospect. I would say Cam Robinson probably has a higher ceiling, but offensive lineman, high ceilings, it's tougher for players that are branded with a high ceiling to really get it when you're at the offensive line. I think skill positions, it's easier to make that assessment for those guys to grow. I think Ramczyk, safer prospect, could play right tackle if the plan is to eventually move Lane Johnson to left tackle. But, Eagles aren't going to do that. Second round, we got Ethan Posich from LSU, who can play center or guard. He's a monster of a man, 6'6", 310 pounds. He was interviewed by the Philadelphia Eagles at the Senior Bowl, which makes, it's kind of fucking high for an offense. I think I personally wouldn't touch any offensive lineman until at least the 3rd round because corner, wide receiver, running back, I think are bigger needs. But you can't underrate it. You can always use more offensive linemen, and we don't have a lot of spring chickens. There's the uncertainty of Jason Kelce. Wisniewski's old, Peters is old, and you can't just gamble on the fact that Vaitai and Siumalo will develop into something. You need to constantly be bringing in fresh bodies on the offensive line. But I think where we have other needs, I wouldn't address the offensive line to the 4th or 5th round. But Postage there in the 2nd round, he'd be a nice fit. Bring Mahler to the offensive line, and that's the style that I think the Vaitai, Siumalo, the big motherfuckers. That is the type. We're getting away from the finesse, smaller offensive lineman that Chip Kelly likes, and we're gonna get the Doug Peterson, big gigantic motherfuckers, and that is Postage to a T in the 2nd round. In the 3rd round, there's Nico Siragusa, the guard from San Diego State, blocking for Donnell Pumphrey. I've heard him actually mock the Eagles in a couple of mock drafts. I could totally see that happening if they want to get younger at the guard spot. 4th round is Connor McDermott from UCLA, the offensive tackle. I think in my way too early mock draft, I had him mocked to the Eagles. He slipped a little bit, but I think that'd be a solid value pick in the 4th round to get a guy that can probably play a little bit of tackle. But again, tackle's a tough spot because investing a pick on a tackle where this is a draft the Eagles realistically need to, every draft you need to hit home runs. But this is a very, very influential draft. Now knowing that we have Wentz and potential starting superstar franchise quarterback, you need to start hitting on your draft picks and using a 4th round pick on a tackle where you're hoping Vaitai will develop into one of the tackles and you have Lane Johnson at the other one. Like, you shouldn't be drafting for depth at the tackle spot. This is why I truly think if we draft offensive linemen, I would lay off on the tackles. The tackles next year's draft, way better than this year's. You got Mitch Hyatt, you got Connor Williams, you got other big names. So even though he's a solid tackle spot, I like my pick in the 5th round, which is John Toth, the center from Kentucky. I think if you want to bring in competition for Jason Kelce, I think Toth is the guy to do it for Kentucky. Underrated program, really small. They struggled a little bit, but he was regarded as one of the top centers in the SEC, and that is no bullshit. Going against pretty much every week, you're going against future NFLers, and the fact that he was that regarded on a pretty shit team. 5th round pick, I would actually that's where I'd go. 5th round, John Toth. That would be my pick. 6th round, we have Jessamine Dunker from Tennessee State, offensive guard. And 7th round, we have Jerry Ugakwe, the offensive tackle from William and Mary. So, NCAA Division II. I had him actually in my Eagles mock draft, the 7th round pick. I think 7th round is where I'd be comfortable taking a tackle in this year's draft class. But my favorite pick would be in the 5th round, getting John Toth, the center from Kentucky, because of the uncertainty with Jason Kelsey. Moving on to the defensive line, again, another one where it's kind of tough. We're going to have to wait and see how free agency goes. Do we lose Connor Barwin? And then, the depth of defensive end becomes an issue. Do we lose Benny Logan in free agency? And then we need a starting defensive tackle, or at least someone that can compete with Bo Allen. So right now, defensive line is definitely the biggest mystery heading in the draft because we don't know what the Eagles roster is going to look like. But here are my prospects that I like. The 1st round, Derek Barnett from Tennessee. Obviously, he's not the best prospect. I think you got names like Myles Garrett, Jonathan Allen. Those guys are going to be gone before the Eagles pick. So I didn't even bother putting them in here. Solomon Thomas. But Derek Barnett will probably be there at the 15th round pick. And even though I'm not the biggest Tennessee fan, he's a beast. And anyone that beats, why not? He beat Reggie White's sack record at Tennessee. Why not get that guy? He's a solid prospect. I think he's still kind of slept on a little bit. But, I don't think 1st round defensive end is the biggest need for the Philadelphia Eagles. In the 2nd round, I like DeMarcus Walker from Florida State. He's looked really good. I'm surprised he's not getting more 1st round consideration, but he seems consensusly to be going in the 2nd round. Maybe it's because his length, perhaps, could be an issue. But I was a big fan every time I watched Florida State, even though I hate Florida State. He looked good. I remember I watched the game against Ole Miss. He had like 4 sacks. He was unblockable. So I think if we had to gamble on a defensive end high, he'd be the guy I'd go with. 3rd round, we have defensive tackle from Auburn, Montravius Adams. If we have to go defensive tackle, we lose Benny Logan. He's a great run stopper, can contribute a little bit in the pass rush, but I see him to be a fair complement to what we have in Fletcher Cox. The 4th round, currently mocked in the 4th round, but a lot of people are expecting him to rise after the combine, is Teno Passagnon. We'll go with Teno Passagnon, if he's anything like how French soccer players pronounce their name, from Villanova, in-state, Philly guy, 6'7", 280 pounds, athletic freak, looked pretty solid in the Senior Bowl. Everyone's ranting and raving. They say that he's going to be potentially this year's Jason Pierre-Paul, so the 4th round grade probably won't stay for too long, but you never know. Small school prospect, people can overhype. I remember Ali Marpet a couple years ago, small school, I think he was from remember Hobart or something, some college like that. Everyone thought he had a great day, he'll go 1st round. He ended up going like 3rd round or something like that, so you never know with that. So currently with CBS Sports, 4th round, I think that'd be a solid pick. That 4th, 5th, 6th round would be much like offensive line, where I'd feel comfortable starting to address the defensive line. 5th round, we have Deshaun Hall from Texas A&M. I had him in my Philadelphia Eagles mock draft. He was the Myles Garrett's partner in crime there in Texas A&M. Great length, phenomenal length actually. He's 6'5", closer to 6'6", 265, and would be excellent depth if we do lose Connor Barwin in free, or just by cutting him. 6th round is Joe Mathis. Jojo Mathis from Washington. A little bit undersized, 6'2", 255, but would work in our scheme. Currently projected 6th, 7th round. I think he made my top 5 when I was doing my defensive end / edge rushers. His tape looked phenomenal. It's just that he got hurt. He only played like 3-4 games. Brian Cox from Florida is around the 6th round. But I think Joe Mathis is a guy that you draft in the 6th round with an incredibly high ceiling, and fully expect him in the 6th round to make your opening day roster. So you get similar value to what we got last year with Jalen Mills. I think Joe, because he's no off-field issues. He seems everything, I think, looks pretty goddamn clean. It was just his injury and such a small sample size, and he might not be ready to test for the combine. I assume that's probably why his draft stock's so low, but I would totally be over. I'm making a star right there. Joe Mathis in the 6th round. That is my pick. Then the 7th round / undrafted, I have Joey Ivey from Florida, just from watching Florida Gator games. He'll be solid. He'll be a solid. I think he'll make a roster. For a guy that's projected to go undrafted, I think he'll be a guy that can contribute on special teams. He'll make a roster, be it on the bottom end or on the practice squad. Next up is the linebacker position, which again, is Michael Kendricks going to be on the roster? You have to draft someone because Nigel Bradham's pretty uncertain. Is he going to be on the fucking field half the time or not? I think inside linebacker's fine. I included one. There's really one or two inside linebackers here, because it depends on how the Eagles are high on Joe Walker or not. I think Joe Walker will be fine. But here for the linebackers 1st round, I have Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt. I think he's the smaller speedster guy that we need, because it looks like we need speed here. And the only thing that sucks is when you usually associate speed outside linebackers, that means they suck. They try to do arm tackles. It's what we see with Michael Kendricks. Like, how the fuck are you letting that guy learn how to wrap him up, bring him down? They're just not big enough to do that. And that is some area of concern with Cunningham. but I think he's phenomenal at Vandy. I mean, this is the guy, an unbelievable production against some of the toughest players in the SEC. So he'd be my first round pick at linebacker. Second round, we have J.J. Watt's brother, T.J. Watt from Wisconsin. I think he may fit better in a 3-4 outside linebacker scheme, but if he's still there in the second round, that's almost the best player available strategy. I mean, he's 243 pounds, so he's small enough and quick enough to be an outside linebacker. I can't really grade or rate his coverage skills, which could be fairly influential if he plays 4-3 or 3-4, but I think best player available, Jim Schwartz would find a way to use him. Third round, I have Duke Riley from LSU. 6'1", 231 pounds. He probably will test fairly well. He's not as athletic as Deion Jones was last year, but I think very similar skill set, and I could see him fitting well into our team. Fourth round is Elijah Lee from Kansas State, 6'3", 220 pounds, currently with third round draft spot. But again, this is more of like, now we're just getting the guys that play a 4-3 and look like they could actually cover some ground at the next level. Fifth round, we have Carol Phillips from Illinois. He is currently, what's his size here? Carol Phillips, 6'3", 237. I think he actually had a down year. A lot of people are saying in his senior year for Illinois. I think, well, obviously, when you play next to Dwayne Smoot, it might struggle a little bit showing up on tape. Sixth round, we have Jalen Reeves-Maybin from Tennessee, who I actually had mocked to the Eagles. 6 feet tall, 230 pounds. He basically missed the whole year from injury. I'd be all over that as well. That'd be tough. If him, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and Joe Mathis were both there in the 6th round, I'd be fucking screaming my TV for these guys to draft one of these guys. I think either one of those guys would contribute more than enough on the defensive side of the ball. I think with Jalen Reeves-Maybin, I think you get a little bit of everything. He's a very good tackler, can drop back into coverage. He's quick. I don't think he'll be ready to test for the combine, which kind of sucks and may hurt his draft stock just a teeny bit, but I think he'll be a nice prospect. And then the 7th round, we have Ben Ballware from Clemson. I don't know why he's only projected the 7th round. He's one of those, just because he's one of those guys that linebacker's one of those positions where you have guys that are kind of, super popular with the fan bases. The middle linebackers, the grinder guys that just probably won't test well. Tyler Matakevich from Temple last year, perfect example. But he's making plays on the Pittsburgh Steelers special teams. I don't see anything different for Ben Ballware, so he would actually be, if he's there in the 7th round, one of my favorite picks available there for the Eagles. And then finish out the video with the cornerback position. Holy fuck, we're almost at a half hour here. We'll try to finish it up in the half hour. So first round, I could totally see him going corner. I think it's going to be corner, wide receiver, or running back in the first round. My favorite first round corner is Jalen Tabor from Florida. I think he's the best corner in the draft. People are saying he's not the undisputed first corner because of off-the-field issues. What was the last corner that was that? His name was Marcus Peters, and now he gets goddamn like 8 interceptions a year. Can't pass up on that productivity if he's there, or if, maybe Dalvin Cook and Corey Davis are gone and Jalen Tabor's there. We have to get better at corner. Corner is probably the biggest position of need, and I think within our first 3 picks, we have to get 2 corners. Unless something goes with Joe Mixon, maybe not. With one of our first 4 picks, okay, we'll use that. We have to get 2 corners that are going to be expecting to compete for minutes year number 1 of their seasons in the NFL. In the second round, I like Tre'Davious White from LSU. Used him in the mock draft. I think that in the second round, there's great value there, especially, most times I do a mock, I don't think I'll have them taking a corner now. I think second and third round is going to be the money rounds for wide receiver, very similar, or for corner, sorry. And I think Tre'Davious White, we go with speed. I'm sick and tired. The Eagles are not fast at corner. Jalen Mills, beat for speed. Nolan Carroll, beat for speed. Give me a fucking burner. All right, go give me draft like Al Davis. Get me the fastest 40-time guy that has some solid coverage skills in the second round, and I'll be fucking happy. And I think that will be Tre'Davious White, because I don't really want to touch Dory Jackson right now. The third round is Rasul Douglas from West Virginia. Had him mocked. I think I went Rasul Douglas and Tre'Davious White in that order in my last Philadelphia Eagles mock draft. Great corner, played a lot of, his tape at West Virginia was very good. They didn't get a lot of pressure, so they had to, really hold on to their coverages for a long time back there with West Virginia, and he did a phenomenal job. Excellent production. I think Rasul Douglas, he could have a chance if he tests well at the combine to jump in that second round conversation. But I think he'll be a very solid playmaker. In the 4th round, I have Corn Elder from Miami. I think he's another guy that a lot of scouts around on Reddit and actual scouts are saying there's a potential sleeper prospect. The only thing that's hurting him is his size. He's 5'10". He's about 180 pounds. What was the last corner that Philadelphia had that was that size? Asante Samuel. I think Corn Elder has great tackling ability. He's pretty much bumped. I think he might have even bumped Chidobe Awuzie for my favorite prospect, because I think Awuzie will fit more as a safety in the NFL, whereas Corn Elder, similar play style, but much smaller, and will definitely be a corner. And he's one of those guys, I wouldn't limit him to being only a nickel corner. You'd see his size and say that, but his jumping ability, I think he'll have a really good, maybe not Byron Jones level of vertical jump, but I think he'll have a nice vertical jump to help improve his draft stock and get rid of some of the concerns about his size. The 5th round is Channing Stribling from Michigan. You know, Jordan Lewis. It's much like where Deshaun Hall was kind of the running man next to Myles Garrett in Texas A&M. I think Channing Stribling was like the forgotten guy because everyone's talking about Jordan Lewis in Michigan. I think Stribling, 6'1", 6'2", 185 pounds. I think it presents great size and would be one of those like mid-late round picks that could definitely compete for a spot, maybe even a starting spot, depending on what kind of turnover we're looking at in the Philadelphia Eagles secondary. Another guy that I think could do that is my number 6 prospect in the 6th round, Brandon Langley from Lamar. He had a phenomenal Senior Bowl. I think he had 2 interceptions, but I was already talking about him before the Senior Bowl. Redshirt senior. I think he transferred from Georgia. He just wasn't getting much playing time at Georgia. Great size, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. And I think he will definitely be a sleeper. Could improve his stock at the combine. And then the 7th round, we have Treston Deku from Oregon State. This is just, this is more like, let's just get the biggest fucking guy that has the highest upside. And I think that is him. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. Hopefully, we can work some magic. Take that lump of clay and mold him into the next Richard Sherman. I mean, that's a pretty bold claim, but I didn't really have any 7th round guys that I was truly in love with. I didn't find anyone and send them any dick pics or anything like that in the 7th round here at the quarterback position. But there you go, guys. Those are all the prospects for those of you that were able to stay through this whole video. I fucking wish I can get a video done in 10 minutes. I don't know how else I can do a video with this much guys that I'm talking about any shorter than what we did. But yeah, I hope you guys like this. And let me know what you guys think about all these positions. Who you like, who you want to get. Just a quick recap here, just to make this video obviously a little bit fucking longer. I think the 1st and 3rd round is the money round for running backs. I think the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th round is money round for wide receivers. I like the 5th round pick for offensive line. I wouldn't want to address offensive line for the Eagles any earlier than the 5th round. Same thing kind of goes for the defensive end, 5th round-ish. Especially if Joe Mathis is there in the 6th round. For that linebacking position, again, 5th, 6th round, like later round. Save that for the back end of the draft. And for corner, literally any corner. Pretty much corner and wide receiver for this year's Eagles team. It's fucking easy. Just get 2 of each. 4 of our picks should be corners and wide receivers. That's the way I have. Obviously, a little bit that's dependent on how we approach free agency and who we sign. But that's what we're going with today as of February 2nd when I'm recording this. I have no idea when you guys will see it. But thank you for watching another video here on Beast Mode TV. This is your first time stopping by. Don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. 100 likes would be dope. Leave a comment in the comment section below with if you agree or disagree with anything. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out.